Hi, everyone. Thanks for staying up this late. So being a developer is kind of like a superpower. So it's not like we save puppies from burning buildings for a living, but we could build an app that would help some puppies out, I guess. And even take this headline. So that's not a real headline. I had to open up DevTools, find the right elements, replace the image source, and if that's not a superpower, then I don't know what is. But being these supermen and women means that we also have our kryptonite. One example is repetitive strain injuries. So in this talk, I'm going to be talking about coding with no hands and how to overcome this kryptonite, and sharing a bit of my experience. So nice to meet everyone. My name is Uri Klar. I lead the front end at Honeybook. I live in Eilat, as mentioned. I don't commute every day, so I've been working remotely for the past 6 years. You can find me mainly on Twitter. I mainly do jokes about my kids, but sometimes some tech-related content. So a few months ago, I suffered from a repetitive strain injury that prevented me from working on the computer for long periods or even short periods of time. And the doctors and Google, they say you should rest and, if possible, find an alternative way to do what you've been doing, in my case, working on the computer. So I rested, and I rested a bit more. And when I got bored of resting, I decided to set out on a journey to understand what it means to code without using your hands. So since this is a tech conference, let's get into some tech. So the first most prominent tech in this space is called Talon Voice. And what it does, it lets you pretty much control your computer completely using voice. So any fans of keyboard shortcuts here? So Talon is like keyboard shortcuts on steroids, I guess. And I know a demo is worth 1,000 slides, so I made a demo of me giving some commands to the computer just to get an idea how it looks like. Git branch, kebab Talon demo, enter, enter, definition show, bar search, focus Chrome, tab new, say Stack Overflow reverse a linked list, enter. Fine. Sun harp. Okay, so a lot of, thank you. So a lot of things to unpack here. What did we see right now? So first of all, we saw an example of some software-specific commands. In this case, it was VS Code and a bit of Chrome. So things like doing Git commands, opening different sidebars, showing a definition of a component, and pretty much anything you can do on VS Code. We saw text formatting. So when I say kebab Talon demo, so it formats it in kebab case. So that's a text formatting function. And there's a lot of those, like all caps, camel case, snake case. We also saw, in the end, a small example of the Talon alphabet. So Talon uses an alphabet for a lot of the commands. So you have words that represent each letter, like air, bat, cap for A, B, C. And you can customize these if you wish, which brings me to the next point. So Talon is completely configurable and scriptable as well. So you can change pretty much anything about how it works using code. And one example is like adding maybe words that it doesn't know or that aren't actual words, like Honeybook or Yala, and like words that you want to use in dictation. You can also create your custom scripts. So this is an example of a script that runs an npm command in the terminal. So the way you script things in Talon is you have a Python file which captures input from the user, and then you can use code to manipulate that input however you want. And the second part is a .talon file, which is where you actually interact with the computer. So you define what operating system or app this is going to work on, and then you can do things like insert text, click buttons, or any other computer APIs. This is another script I made for using React snippets inside VS Code. So you'd say like React state or React effect. It will enter this text and then press Control Space, wait a bit for the kind of open window to open up, and then press Tab. We'll see that actually in the demo later. So Talon is not open source, but it is free to use, and it's community driven. So what does that mean? The community is kind of united behind one single repo where everyone contributes their scripts and stuff that they're writing. And this community repo has support for a lot of the things we use day to day, like Discord, Figma, Slack, Teams, VS Code, JetBrains, and browsers, and pretty much everything you can think of. So Talon also has something called dictation mode. So a lot of my time is spent on Slack talking to people. So I use dictation, and you basically tell Talon what you want to write. So it's got a nice side effect that you need to think of what you want to say, but it also has some side effects that if I'm talking to my wife about what to have for lunch and I leave Talon on, so it could look something like this. So yeah, you need to turn it off sometimes. So what about these places that are just like hard to reach? I mean, sometimes you need a mouse. So thankfully, there's a solution for that as well. It's a piece of hardware. It's called the Tobii eye tracker. It's this black thing, and you put it on your computer or on your screen. And what it does is it tracks your eyes and basically places the cursor wherever you're looking. So you don't need a mouse. And it was originally made for gaming. It's not made for programming, but the people at Talon, they wrote drivers that support stuff like clicking, scrolling, dragging. I made a couple of examples. So this command, wheel gaze, basically makes the scroll follow where you're looking. So if you're reading an article or a document, so you can just like scan it with your eyes and it will scroll with you. Or this is an example of drag and drop, not something you do without a mouse usually, but so yeah, that works as well. Okay, so until now we talked kind of around coding, but let's get into the actual IDE. So how do you code? How do you navigate through code? I mean, you probably don't want to be saying down, 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 left, 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 right, right, because that'll take you all day. So there's a few solutions for this. The one I like the most is called Cursorless. It's a VS Code extension. And what it does is it adds these markers on top of your code. So you've got these colored circles on top of the words. And if you want to target, let's say, the word date, so you would say green drum. Drum is for D. Or if you want to target the if, you'd say blue fine. And it's not just for targeting the actual word. You can use something called scopes. So you can target the word, the line, the containing statement, the if statement, the containing function. And whenever you target a word, you can do things like move it around, select it, delete it, copy paste, stuff like that. So again, I made a demo here. I'm refactoring a React class component, if you remember those. So I'm refactoring it into a function component. The entire video is like 3.5 minutes, but we're going to see like 1.5 minutes of it.
Title login, paren, end, brace, enter. React state, bring blue made, escape, post fourth char trap, delete. Ship urge, chuck drum, end, enter, React state, bring green whale, escape, post fourth char each, delete, ship pit, chuck drum, end, enter, bring funk blue drum, take line sit, camel set username, paren, dotted event target value, go down, enter, save, enter, bring funk blue odd, take line sit, delete, bring blue whale, param, dotted event target value, go down, enter, save.
So that was kind of a taste of how it looks like to code with no hands. So just before I finish up, I wanted to talk about a few lessons learned, maybe some tips that can help you avoid these situations. So first one is the importance of exercise. So although we sit on our butts all day pretty much, it does take a toll on our bodies, and it's important to stay fit so that toll doesn't translate into these types of injuries. Taking frequent breaks. So, you know, when you're coding and you get into this flow state and you can sit for like 3 hours without getting up or even to take a drink. So I have an app installed called Break Timer. It forces me to take these frequent breaks, and I use them to do things like stretch or just look at something that isn't a computer screen. And last but not least is keeping proportions and a healthy work-life balance, because you're always going to have a ton of Slack notifications and more Jira tickets than you can ever solve. And it's important to remember that we can't be on top of everything, because in the end, we're just human, we're not Superman. Thank you.